Hey guys, my name is Doug with Infotainment.com. Today we're working with a 2007 to 2010 Jeep Wrangler. Basically what we're going to do today is show you guys how easy it is to install the Infotainment.com backup camera kit. Basically what you do is you take your spare tire off, whether it's an aftermarket one or a factory one. You're going to take it off, you're going to slide this camera over the bracket. It does have an adjustable head, so you just loosen up the screw. So if you need to offset it a little bit, this will swivel back and forth 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, now that we have the spare tire off, you notice the studs here. We can go ahead and install our camera right over those studs. So when we install the spare tire back on, it'll push and hold this in place. Again, depending if you have factory wheels or aftermarket wheels, you may need to loosen up this screw and adjust the camera either way to poke out through one of the spokes. As far as the remaining part of the wiring, what we're going to do is we're going to come in down this cavity here. You can also come in down the side as well. But ultimately what we want to do is gain access to the inside of the rear door here. Now what you'll notice is if you press down on this panel here, you'll notice some more factory wiring here. So we're going to want to run along this wiring all the way up to behind the radio. So now what we're going to do is we're going to want to connect the extension wiring from the quick disconnect right here. A lot of times what people do is put a little bit of electrical tape around here to kind of keep it nice and snug. But basically the way we gain access into the vehicle, you could go through this little grommet here and kind of customize that as you prefer. The easiest way that we found is to go through this vent here. So once you get in through the vent, basically what you're going to do is you're going to fish for it and you're going to have it come out right here. Now what we can do is we can just pull all the wiring through here. All right, now that we have our wiring in, we can use our included zip ties or cable ties. We can now run our wiring in through here and then up along the quarter and then down the floorboard all the way to behind the radio. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run the wiring to the front. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. As long as you get this wiring up there, I'm going to kind of tuck it behind the carpet here in the quarter. It just tucks right in. Can't even see it. Now I'm running it behind the hinge strike just so we don't get it caught anything. And as you can see, I'm just running it down behind the carpet. Basically just following the factory wiring. It's very easy. kind of peel back the carpet a little bit and just keep making your way forward. Now some of you may opt to take the center pillar panel here and pop it up, but again, for the most part, you can just pull it up just enough to hide the cable underneath. All right, so we have our wiring, came down the panel here. I did remove this little butterfly clip here, or a Christmas tree. So pulled it out, it was just a little tight right here in the corner, so that gave me just enough leeway to get it in. Put it in back here, kind of snaked it around behind the carpet, and now we're right here. So now we can interface this with power and ground and with the radio. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to route the cable up into the center console now, and I'm going to do it down here. Now that it's in, I can run our video cable up to that C2T plug, and then I can tap in our power and ground. So we're almost done. All right, now that we have our wiring up here, we're going to need to connect our power and ground and then our video input into the radio. So to do so, we're going to have to take apart the dash here. It's very easy. This is an aftermarket piece in this customer's vehicle. The factory part that's on the top here comes off the same way. It's just held in with retaining clips, and it just lifts up and sets aside. That gives us access to the two 7mm screws on the top. And then down here below, there's a little plastic trim piece down here that needs to come out. You can use a trim pry tool or a regular screwdriver, just held in with retaining clips, and then that pops out as well. That gives you access to the two 7mm screws on the bottom. We can now pull the dash out for the bezel. That gives us enough room to access the 4 screws that hold in our radio. Now this radio here, we installed previously. It is a full touchscreen radio. We do offer touchscreen radios on our website to make the backup camera completely compatible. Basically what we're going to do now is we're going to plug in our C2T cable or harness. It's going to be in this port right here, which is the 3rd one. Once that's plugged in, we're going to route the video line down to probably right around, maybe right in between the 2 ducts there. We'll kind of just have it hang in there, and then we can reinstall our radio. Now, if you already have a factory touchscreen radio or an aftermarket radio, those are all still compatible with our system, our backup camera system. So we can reinstall the screws for the radio at this point. All right, now that we have our wiring ran up behind the bezel here, we can plug the 2 RCAs in together. You can use a little bit of electrical tape just to ensure it's not going to come out. But once you do that, you can set that aside. Last but not least, we need to connect power and ground. Now, a lot of installers, choose to tap into the reverse tail light wire, wires for power and ground. You could do any switched power source really in the vehicle. But what we designed to kind of make it really easy is this kit here. This is called an Easy DC. This can connect to your switch cigarette lighter, which is going to be the one on your left. It's a little pass-through harness here, and then you get power and ground here. So when the key is on, you're going to get power to the camera, but whenever you turn the vehicle off, it cuts the power. So this can actually be used for all sorts of things. This is included with the kit. Anything you do aftermarket, you can also tap into this as well. This is our EZ DC kit, and it is included. So very easy to install. Basically, all we're going to do is just connect the plug that is on the left here. You're going to plug in the EZ DC, and then you're going to plug the other end into the cigarette lighter. Now remember, use the one on the left. The one on the right is constant power. The one on the left is switch power. In this particular vehicle, the fuse was blown prior to installing this kit. It is M6, it's a 20 amp fuse under the hood. So we went ahead and replaced that fuse. They must have blown it some time ago, but that's something you also want to check there. Now, all we need to do, before I actually plug it into the port, I'm actually going to hook up our power and ground using these butt connectors here. So, those of you who are familiar with these, you're just basically going to put your wire in, and you're going to use some crimpers to get you a nice solid connection. Now these are kind of fancy crimpers. You can obviously use, a lot of people will use needle nose pliers, things like that. But basically you just want to get these two connected. Some people opt to use wire nuts, whatnot. You know, if you cut these butt connectors off. But basically we have a nice tight connection. Now that we have that connected, we can plug this into the exact same location on the back of the cigarette lighter. Now in this case, you could use a little bit of wire ties, zip ties, and make everything nice and pretty, and then we can pop our bezel back on. We're going to stick all the excess cable behind this wire harness here, kind of in between the vents, to give us enough room to pop our bezel back on. Now all we have to do is install our 4 screws and pop everything back into place. Alright, the last part of the installation is we're going to run our OBD Genie programmer. Now what this does is it programs the vehicle for backup camera, so when you stick the vehicle in reverse, the screen changes to the backup camera image. So to do so, start the vehicle, let it initialize for 10 seconds, and then we're just going to plug it into the OBD2 port. You'll see a series of lights. All we're waiting for is the green light. Now that the light has appeared, we can just remove it and stow it away. Alright, now that we ran the Genie, we got the green light. You'll also notice your radio will reset. As soon as it resets, you know everything's been programmed properly. So put your vehicle in reverse, and it toggles on your new backup camera. As I mentioned, this camera also works with aftermarket radios as well. If you need a factory radio, come check us out at Infotainment. All right, we went ahead and put the spare tire on, and what we noticed after adjusting the camera is it's a little bit too far behind the aftermarket wheel. So what we're going to do is we're going to install the included extension here so the camera sticks out a little bit further. Alright guys, we went ahead and put the extension on here so it sticks out perfect so you have a nice field of view. So that completes our installation. Come check us out guys, infotainment.com. Thanks for watching.